Hello, my name is Marcus Johnston. I'm the solicitor in charge of M.A.J. Law. As a law firm, we specialise in motoring defence and in particular drink and drug driving. This short video is to discuss some of the important aspects in relation to drug driving. Drug driving is a fairly recent offence, and if you are charged with drug driving or you're under investigation for drug driving, then it is very important to take proper legal advice so that you know where you stand. So you have all sorts of different limits in relation to the different prescribed drugs that are made illegal by the government to take and then drive. The limit is extremely low, so the threshold before you reach that limit is extremely low, what the government calls a zero tolerance approach. So even an extremely small amount of the drug would generally put you over the limit. And if you have tested positive on a swab test, a roadside swab test, it's highly likely that your blood results would come back over the limit as well. So what can you do if you are under investigation or you've been charged with a drug drive offence? Well, first of all, it costs nothing to take some initial free legal advice. So if you telephoned my firm, for example, we never charge for initial telephone conversations. I'm always happy to take as much time as needed to speak with you about your case, talk through all the options. As far as challenging a case goes, then there are a number of aspects to look closely at. The first is in relation to police station procedure. There are certain legal warnings that the police have to give you, and there's documentation that should be completed by the police. These booklets, known as MGDDA and B booklets, stands for Manual Guidance for Drink and Drug Driving. They detail the whole procedure. Now, the officer would normally complete that. If you don't remember booklets being filled in with you, there's around about 20 odd questions that they should go through with you. If you don't remember certain legal warnings being given to you, about explaining your rights, that if you didn't give a sample, what happens if you do give a sample. If they are taking a blood sample from you, which is what they would have to do if they're looking to charge you under the drug driving law, then you will go to see the nurse or the healthcare professional, and he or she would then go through a set procedure. They need to obtain consent from you. That's normally documented on what they call an HORT5 form. And then they would take the bloods. Now, when they take a blood sample, I have a number of inquiries because people are concerned that the nurse took maybe 2 samples. The law only allows for 1 sample, so it must be 1 sample that's given, and that should be divided, and then you should be offered your sample to take away with you for your own independent testing if you so wish. The whole procedure at the station can be extremely complicated, but finding a fault with that procedure can result in the prosecution failing. So it's very important to take legal advice to check on that. Once it goes to a prosecution and it goes to a court process, then there is a whole lot of new information and documentation that the prosecution service, the Crown Prosecution Service, or CPS for short, they're obliged to give that to you within certain time limits. So if they fail to provide the information to you within the correct time limits, then the prosecution may fail. There's certain steps we have to take to try and achieve that, but it puts the prosecution on the back foot because they're the ones in effect breaking the law by not providing the correct disclosure of evidence to you within the required time frames. So looking at everything throughout, as we would do, to take one step at a time, hopefully gives you the best chance of finding fault with the evidence against you and then trying to win the case outright. Of course, always remember that at any time during a case, if the evidence is conclusive, you can always enter a guilty plea at any time. Once you enter a guilty plea, we then concentrate on mitigation and the sentencing part. So I hope that's given you some indication. Please get in touch if you have any queries. The first phone call is always free of charge, and even if we're acting for you, we tend to do most of our cases on a fixed fee. We'll be happy to explain all those things to you. But thank you for watching.